So a warm welcome to the SAP Converge Business Technology Platform event. I'm Anisha Shenoy, Head of Platform and Technologies, SAP Asia Pacific and Japan. I'm very excited you could join us today. As we navigate the circumstances together that the pandemic has thrust us into, it's more important than ever for governments, businesses, and industries to come together, share our experiences and expertise, and move into the next phase of recovery. The new norm and the pace of recovery will be determined by resolve, resilience, reinvention, and reform that organizations can drive to be relevant and thrive in the future. Today with me, I have an esteemed panel of members who will be sharing their experiences and expertise on this topic. So firstly, let me introduce you to Pietro Pieretti, Senior Managing Director, Head of SAP Business Group, Asia Pacific, Middle East, and Africa at Accenture. I also have Patrick Elliott, who's our Head of SAP Platform and Technologies at Australia and New Zealand. Anand Rai-Singhani, who's our Head of SAP Platform and Technologies in the India Business Continent. I have Taeyong Lee, who is the PNT Head for Korea. And with me, I also have Peter Moore, who heads the Platform and Technology Group for Southeast Asia. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me in this panel discussion today. So Pietro, let me start off with you first. So in the new norm, what do you think are the key expectations from our customers, and how can organizations such as SAP and Accenture help to address them?
Well, thanks, Anish. Thanks a lot for the question, and is extremely relevant because the evolution of technology and also the evolution of the maturity of the organization of our client has brought on the table a set of new questions and a set of new interests when they're looking at embarking on a transformation which is based and led with technology. So if you look at it from the SAP angle, historically, the power of the SAP transformation was unlock the value of ERP. So take the processes of a company and reorganize them in a structured way, standardized and integrated way to make the full flow of transaction working in a seamless, rapid, and very precise way, and do this across entire organization. So I'm not saying that this is gone and done, because we know that organizations are continuously investing in doing that, completing their journey, and also reorganizing and so embarking in new journey. But the way they're looking at this and the different lenses they are putting on this type of transformation has changed or has evolved. So actually, we see this organization moving from if you like, looking at the power of putting in order transaction and records to actually having the ability to unleash the power of the data. And the data that are in these platforms can be transformed in information and be transformed into action immediately. And this is where the beauty of the new platform on SAP comes to life, because it's all about being real time, being in the cloud, having the power of bring in memory a large amount of data that allows to drive a complete different intelligence in the way this company runs. So if you like, the whole notion of intelligent enterprise, which takes data and information, elaborate real time, and push the output back, sometimes with automation, into the process to bring company to the next level of efficiency and effectiveness. This is what our client wants. So the whole way this transformation is led is driven by the value of innovating and the value of using the data and the power of data differently to drive more business outcome. And this is transforming the industry. And I think SAP is at the heart of it because it owns the footprint of the enterprise, but also is layering on the foundation of it and on the top of it the new technologies that allows really companies to get this value out of that.
Thanks, Pietro. That's definitely music to my ears, and can't agree with you more. Now let's go a little bit into the regional market dynamics, right? And try and understand how is digital transformation helping our customers evolve into new business models, which is so much needed today. So perhaps I can start off with Peter Moore from Southeast Asia. Peter, if you can share, and Southeast Asia is of course a diverse group of countries, right? So if you can share from your perspective, how are your customers benefiting?
Thanks, Anisha. Yeah, I think you called it correctly. Southeast Asia is a diverse market. If you look across the different countries and dynamics in each of the markets, I think it's wide and varied. Certain industries are thriving at the moment, whilst others are somewhat challenged due to the current climate. But not only that, they want to transform, from an organisation that was traditionally business process driven to now being more data driven. We're seeing really three common goals across our customers. We've seen a resurgence in the importance of data strategy and data governance, because a lot of the customers know that their best asset is their IP, which is the data that they've built over the many years. But to be able to trust that data, to bring that data into more modern technology like the newer ERP S4HANA or other LOB applications, they need to be able to be confident that the data is giving them the right information to make the right decisions, to deal with the external market changes or the internal changes that they need to be prepared for and to act on. We're seeing a lot of increased awareness or increased interest in more advanced analytics across the organisation. Not only, we've talked for many years about business users driving the analytics. We're now seeing more business executives wanting to be able to access that data, drive analytics, and it's cross line of business, not only inside one line of business, but a CEO wants to see visibility across the entire supply chain, whether it be in pharmaceuticals, oil and gas, any industry. It's a common requirement now, and we're seeing more and more of our own executives presenting our way of running our business through the digital boardroom and other advanced analytical views of the company, and that's the vision we have for our customers too. And then the third area we've seen probably the most increase in demand is more around automation, robotic process automation, artificial intelligence. So if you have the data strategy correct, if you have the right analytics, you can then drive more advanced intelligence within the organization, the intelligent enterprise, which SAP has been talking about for some time. And organizations like Zulig Pharmaceuticals in the Philippines have really taken that to the next level, reducing complexity of business processes. A backlog of 10,000 tasks and was traditionally handled by 20 employees, can now be automated a lot faster and a lot more efficiently using intelligent business process automation technology. So we're seeing a lot of that technology now being a reality for our customers. It's now affordable, it's deliverable, it's achievable, and it's not a major project to start adopting some of these technologies to really get those quick wins for our customers, and then focus on what's important, like innovation outside of the ERP, beyond ERP.
Thanks, Peter. Pat, maybe from your perspective, since Australia, New Zealand is a more mature and developed economy, how are you seeing digital helping your customers?
Yeah, thanks, Anisha. Actually, I think the best way to portray this is from a concrete example from the Office of Revenue. If you think about what they collect about a year in taxes and mining and petroleum royalties, for every penny that they're not able to identify and collect, it will have a direct impact on their citizens. So the money they collect isn't about improving their share price or improving dividends. It's going directly back into the community, into their citizens. So it's very essential that they maximize the identification and the collection of those debts. What they've been able to do is proactively now, they analyze using machine intelligence, 187 million records. And that allows them to proactively identify those taxpayers, personal or organizations, that may have a challenge in paying the debts, the tax debt that they'll owe to the state. Now you can think, and when we digitalize things, it's always about technology, and it could be a very cold experience. So they've made very sure that they keep a very human connection in this whole process. And what they've done is they've proactively created programs and personalized plans to go back to their citizens and taxpayers to help them along that journey so that they can pay their debt, they can pay their taxes. And from the state's perspective, it allows them to maximize the return. So they're able to identify those at risk of being able to pay with 71% accuracy, but they've also been able to improve the debt collection by 5%. When you look on a $15 billion budget, that's a massive impact. What I love most about this story is they've taken the power of digitalization of large volumes of data, machine learning, artificial intelligence, but then they've personalized it and they've created a personal plan for the citizens and a human connection. So they've been able to marry the human and the digital side together for an outcome that's best for their society, our society in general, which I think is a great story and a great marriage of the two.
Thanks, Pat. Anand, from your perspective, right, because India, again, is a massive and diverse geography, right? And I know that the government also has great initiatives to go towards digital, and the other organizations are also following suit. So maybe give your perspective on how India is, going towards the next generation with the digital transformation initiative.
Sure, Anisha, and thank you for the question. So from an India subcontinent point of view, I think for the last couple of years now, I think it's plainly visible that there is significant benefits as clients and as customers start to go through this entire digital journey. But I also believe that there's a very clear appreciation of how data plays a very important role as customers and as organizations start to initiate a lot of these or put into force a lot of these initiatives that they've started to embark upon. It's almost like a symbiotic journey between data and digital. And what I like to do is essentially talk about one particular example with one of our leading battery manufacturers in India. And just to put things into perspective from a scale standpoint, like you mentioned, right? This organization essentially has a primary and a secondary sales network, which currently covers about 40 to 50,000 primary and secondary sales dealers. And the way their entire route to market was structured was across this set of about 40, 50,000 network points. As they started to think through how they can expand reach and the markets that they can go into, they wanted to actually make use of the final endpoints, which could be a small garage shop owner or somebody who just fixes tires. And just to give you the scale that they were wanting to reach at the last mile was from the 40, 50,000 that they currently had in the network, they actually wanted to make this reach out to over 5 to 6 million. Now, as you start to think through what it takes to reach to this endpoint, they actually came up with an entire new market segmentation approach. So they've actually disbanded the traditional metro, non-metro, class A, B, C network and actually tried to create something that they call as a concept of consumption centers and see whether they've adequately addressed the market through these consumption centers. And if you start to think what this starts to evolve into is, it starts giving them a sense of whether they've got the right kind of touch points, which product categories are being sold into this market, and eventually also get into an understanding of who the customer is and how they're buying from this particular organization. So if you actually look at it, it's not just about data to serve this channel, but the fact that when you start to make this entire process digitalized, the amount of data that comes back into the system, which allows them to take this to the next level. So it's about the whole host of secondary sales data, the distributor billing, and of course, this entire market segmentation approach starts to reach a significant level of maturity as they go about automating this entire process. So comes back to the whole point that the data and the digital journeys are so closely interwoven for a business objective. And I think there are multiple examples of organizations that are looking to evolve and mature in this space, because clearly these are the moats that you build around successful businesses. Thank you.
Thanks, Anand. Thanks a lot for sharing perspectives on India. Taeyong, last but not least, Korea is one of those countries which is at the forefront of innovation, right? At least that's how we see it. Korea is one of the countries which is really driving innovation within APJ. So how is the digital transformation that we are driving with customers helping them evolve new business models?
Yeah, thank you, Anisha. I have an interesting Korean customer to transform their digital business with our SAP IoT technology. Subscription business model is now growing quickly in Korea, and everyone wants to adopt this subscription model for their business transformation. For example, Hyundai Kia Motors is now offering the subscription-based offering, and you can change your new car after 1 year lease. The Porsche is also offering a more dramatic subscription model now. Actually, in Korea, air pollution is a growing problem, and many people have interest in reducing the air pollution, especially for indoor air. The Claire, our company, one of our customers, is a fast-growing startup based in South Korea that manufactures and sells air purifiers. The air purifier market in Korea is highly competitive with lower-priced producers at one end and big brand conglomerate at the other. To innovate on their existing services, Claire partnered with SAP app houses to redesign their business model through a customer-centric approach. Guess what? The final result of the co-creation journey was an IoT-enabled air purifier and customized filter subscription services that runs on SAP IoT technology. Using Clear's smart air purifier, customers can easily check the indoor and outdoor air quality real time and see when the next filter replacement is due. Customers will receive alerts and can order new filters with a one-click deliver scenario. Moreover, with the customer data collected, Clear will be able to offer predictive maintenance for their devices by reading and analyzing the data transmitted from the sensors. So this is one of the most interesting stories in Korea.
Thanks, Taeyong, for sharing. Thanks. And again, interesting perspectives from different industries, how the customers are using different use cases to drive towards that end objective of coming up with new business models, right? Pietro, if I can come back to you, and I know you have extensive experience not only in Asia Pacific and Japan, but across other regions as well, right? Working with different industries, different customer bases, and so on. Why do you think, Pietro, is so important that when customers think about business transformation, they need to think beyond process harmonization and transformation into the underlying data and look at how they can derive insights from that data and then convert it into actions, right? Why do you think it's so important?
I think it's always been relevant, but there was no way to do it in the way it can be done today. So it was a little bit of an holy grail, this closed loop between data and process and automation. Today, the technology allows us to do that because with the new platforms that SAP provides, that's doable. So, if you look at what happened just recently with the pandemic situation. So we have a number of our clients has been, especially if you think, for instance, clients which are serving the out-of-home consumption of food, like a beer producer. They had to rewire their supply chain in a matter of few days because bars and pubs were closing. And they had hectoliters of beer going out in kegs. And they had to pull them back, put them in bottles, and ship to retail chain. And this is just one example. We had many of our clients where this had to be done. And this is only when you have the ability to get data available about your network and rewire the network and quickly simulate where things has to go now, that you can achieve that benefit. And those clients that were already on the new platform with ES4, the HANA database, the new IBP on the cloud, they were able to do it pretty quickly. Clients which were still on an old architecture were stuck. And in fact, you could read in the newspaper that I don't know how many hectoliters of excellent beer were just laying in parking lots for some of those clients which were not able to do that. So that's just an example of it, but there's more. I think it's a combination of also innovation and data. So with the access to new data and the new platform, you can do things that before you couldn't do. So in the old days, you were just pushing client to adhere to standard process and standard SAP features. A customization was considered something that was like, oh my God, don't go there, that's hell. Today, with a new platform of innovation, you can do things that before were forbidden. Were done manually, were done somewhere else. And we have example of clients that are actually simplifying their core ERP because they are putting all this new innovation and intelligence in the new SAP Cloud Platform. So we are working for a client here in Singapore that is in the food service business to completely put their order management system, which is quite complicated and very tailored to some specific typology of customer they have, in the SAP Cloud Platform, developing a very new cloud-based application that is able to take orders and then pass this to the ERP in a way that the ERP can expedite them in a very standard way, so that the core is much lighter and you have much more ability to innovate and bring more service to our customer through the SAP Cloud Platform. Or we have a situation of a retailer in Australia where actually we have delivered an application based on SAP Cloud Platform and SuccessFactors actually to be able to match the request of temporary people in stores with the availability of CV and students, and just matching up the availability of and preference of what people want to do in terms of timing, location, which kind of area of the city, which city they want to work, with the need of having people on shifts. We were able to optimize this process in real time with some intelligence in it and provide a completely different outcome to the client that before was having a lengthy process which was employing a lot of manual work, and typically they were sending the wrong guys in the wrong place. So there's a lot that can be done in innovation beyond what can come with the standard package, which we should continuously remember, because that's where you can bring additional value to the investment that our clients are doing in the platform.
Thanks so much, Pietro. Couldn't agree more with you. Yeah, so in the interest of time, this was a very interesting conversation, and I think with the collective experience of, the panel members here, I think we can go on and on, but I guess we need to wrap up. So it's pretty clear in the recovery mode, in the new norm that we are heading towards, right? While businesses need to reinvent, reimagine, innovate, and reform, it's more important than ever that, customers, partners think about how much they can deliver much more out of data. We've heard for the longest possible time that data is a new currency, but I think this is the exact time where we can really put it into action. And SAP's business technology platform, with its 4 key pillars around data management, around analytics, augmented analytics, intelligent technologies, and the extensions and integrations that it offers, provides a seamless way for customers to really have an end-to-end data strategy, an analytics strategy, and a process integration strategy, which can then bring the whole business transformation to the next level, really making sure that they can innovate via new business models. So with that, I would really like to thank each of you, Pietro, Pat, Anand, Peter, and Taeyong, for your time and for your ideas and your experience and expertise in this area. Thanks a lot for joining the session today. Take care. Thank you all for joining this panel as well today. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
안녕하세요. 저는 SAP 코리아에서 플랫폼 테크놀로지 본부를 담당하고 있는 이태용입니다. 반갑습니다. 여러분들 우르스라는 제품 알고 계십니까? 우리가 약국에 가면 언제든지 쉽게 볼 수 있는 우르사라는 제품, 세계 인류 상품 중에 하나입니다. 또한 대한민국 일하기 좋은 100대 회사로도 선정된 대웅제약이 있습니다. 대웅제약은 1945년에 조선간유제약공업사로 창립하셔서 1978년에 대웅제약으로 상호 변경한 회사입니다. 대웅제약은 1998년에 SAP를 도입하고 2019년에 제약회사는 처음으로 S4HANA를 고도화하였습니다. IDS 트러스트라는 파트너사와 함께 성공적으로 S4HANA 프로젝트를 완료하고 그 이야기를 좀 들어보고자 오늘 대웅제약의 CIO이신 박영호 실장님을 모시고 이야기 좀 들어보겠습니다. 이와 함께 IDS 트러스트의 윤수표 대표님도 함께 이야기를 짧게 들을 수 있는 시간을 가져봤으면 좋겠습니다. 박영호 실장님, IDS 트러스트 윤수표 대표님 감사합니다. 한번 짧게 인사를 좀 해주시죠.
안녕하세요. 대웅제약 CIO를 담당하고 있는 박영호라고 합니다. 만나서 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요. 이번 구축을 맡게 된 IDS 트러스트의 윤석표 대표입니다. 만나서 반갑습니다.
하나가 10년이 되었는데요. 하나가 처음 커머셜하게 시장에 란칭한 게 2010년이었으니까 지금 2020년이 된 지금이 딱 10년째 되는 해입니다. 이렇게 하나가 10년의 전이를 거치게 되었는데요. 고객에게 어떤 영향을 주었는지 한번 들어보고 싶습니다.
네, 먼저 저희 회사가 대웅제약이 S4HANA를 도입하게 된 이유는 저희 목표가 2025년까지 글로벌 30일 하는 목표입니다. 이 목표를 달성하기 위해 직원 모두의 역량이 증대돼야 되는데 그 역량 증대를 위해서 시스템 기반이 현재 추세로 있는 AI 기반이 도입이 되어야 됩니다. 그리고 빅데이터 기반이 도입되어야 합니다. 그래서 시스템 전반적으로 검토하게 되었고 S4HANA가 그 기능을 모두 탑재하고 있는 것으로 판단이 되어서 도입하게 되었습니다. 저희가 이번 S4HANA를 추진하면서 역점을 두었던 방향은 세 가지인데요. 기업에는 기업을 운영하는 세 가지 그룹이 있습니다. 첫 번째로는 최고 경영층이 있고요. 두 번째로는 사업을 진행하는 사업 본부장들이 있고, 세 번째는 이를 전체적인 업무를 수행하는 담당자 직원들이 있습니다. 첫 번째 최고 경영층이나 경영층에는 예측 경영과 그리고 리스크 경영을 할 수 있도록 하여야 합니다. 두 번째로 사업 본부장에게는 책임 경영을 수행할 수 있도록 하여야 합니다. 세 번째로 일반 직원은 성과를 달성하고 목표를 수행할 수 있도록 MBO 경영을 할 수 있어야 됩니다. 이런 모든 경영의 기법을 수행하기 위한 기능이 각 시스템에 녹아져 되어야 되는데 S4HANA는 그 모든 기능을 수행할 수 있어서 도입하게 되었습니다. 먼저 최고 경영층에는 리스크 경영과 예측 경영을 해야 되는데요. 이번 S4HANA에는 PA 기능이 도입되어 있습니다. 즉 과거의 추세를 통해서 미래를 예측할 수 있는 기능이 도입되어 있기 때문에 이 기능을 도입하여 이번에 구현하게 되었고요. 그 다음에 사업부 본부장들에게는 PA 기능을 이용해서 손익을 제공하고, 손익도 본부별 손익, 사업부 손익, 제품별 손익을 구분지어서 제공하게 되었습니다. 세 번째로 중요한 것이 각 실무자 직원들이 열심히 할 수 있도록 시스템 기반을 제공해야 되는데 이번에 특히 퓨어리 기능이 아주 중요했습니다. 퓨어리를 통해 아침에 출근하게 되면 본인이 어떤 일을 하여야 되고 또 본인의 목표가 어떤 것이고 이 목표가 현재 잘 되고 있고 안 되고 있는지를 분석할 수 있는 퓨어리 기능이 제대로 구현되어 있어서 그 기능을 활용하게 되었습니다.
네, 감사합니다. 박 시장님, 하나가 또는 S4 하나에 있어서 어떤 점이 좀 아쉬운 부분이 있었는지 한번 말씀을 해주시면 좀 도움이 될 것 같습니다.
SAP 하나의 장점은 실제적으로 이런 미래에 회사가 추진해야 될 모든 기능들이 잘 구현되어 있습니다. 하지만 이제 조금 부족한 부분은 PO리 같은 경우에 전체 기능이 표준 연결 모델로 구현되어 있지 않고요. 그 다음에 PA 같은 기능들이 조금 이제 아직까지 전체적으로 좀 기능이 부족하지 않나는 생각이 있는데 이건 곧 보완되어서 기대하고 있습니다.
네, 감사합니다. SAP가 비즈니스 파트너로서 앞으로 어떤 솔루션이나 기능이 S4 하나의 개발에 추가되면 밸류를 더 줄 수 있을지 한번 의견을 주시면 감사하겠습니다.
전반적으로 저희 대웅제약은 지금 전체 직원 대상으로 인공지능 및 빅데이터 교육을 수행하고 있습니다. 모든 직원들이 인공지능 빅데이터를 교육받으면서 앞으로 모든 사회 또 회사의 전반적인 업무는 인공지능과 빅데이터와 분리되어서는 할 수 없을 거라는 생각을 갖고 있습니다. 이런 생각의 배경으로 SAP 하나도 앞으로 PA 기능이 별도로 서드파트로 분리되어 있는 것 같이 그렇게 되면 안 되고 모든 CIO의 주요 모듈 내에 이런 AI 빅데이터 팀이 녹아져 들어가서 실제 그 내에서 데이터가 처리가 되고 데이터가 쌓이고 데이터가 분석되고 데이터가 예측되는 이런 전반적인 게 전체 모듈 내에 녹아져 들어있다고 생각합니다. 당연히 이런 진행은 SAP 내에서 진행되어 있으리라고 이제 공유받고 있고요. 실제 그 시간이 빨리 구현되기를 기대하고 있습니다. 네, 감사합니다.
네, 감사합니다. 대웅제약의 S4 하나를 성공적으로 오픈하시고 또 최근에 SAP 인텔리전트 RPA를 도입하시는데 혁신을 같이 하고 계신 IDS 트러스트 윤석표 대표님께서 배석해 주셨는데요. 한 말씀 부탁드리겠습니다.
네. 대웅제약은 20여 년 전에 SAP를 도입해서 업계와 또 우리 한국 기업에 굉장히 큰 반향을 일으킨 좋은 사례가 있습니다. 제 기억에도 20년 전에 이미 SAP 사파이어에서 글로벌 파트너 분들을 모시고 구축했던 성공사를 발표한 바가 있는데 최근에 이번에 S4 하나를 도입하면서 또 다른 그런 좋은 사례를 만들게 돼서 저는 매우 기쁘게 생각합니다. 이번 프로젝트를 통해서 저희는 SAP 하나 가지고 있는 베스트 프랙티스를 최대한 살려서 구축하자는 그런 방침을 가지고 시행을 했습니다. 그러다 보니까 우리 컨설턴트 분들이 그에 대한 이해력이 좀 부족한 부분이 있어서 사전에 우리 PI 분들과 컨설턴트가 이 부분을 집중적으로 준비를 해서 베스트 프랙티스가 녹여져 있는 그런 프로세스를 구현하는 쪽에 초점을 맞췄습니다. 방금 박용호 CIO에서 말씀하신 것처럼 회사가 관리하고 또 개인이 집중적으로 수행하는 그런 업무에 대한 KPI들을 이런 프로세스에서 녹아져 있기 때문에 그것들을 PO를 통해서 구현하는 그런 방식으로 이번에 구현했기 때문에 실제로 이것이 업무에 많은 그런 성과를 거둘 수 있는 그런 계기가 되었습니다. 뿐만 아니라 이번 프로젝트를 수행하면서 강력한 PM의 그 리더십도 있었고 또 하나는 SAP 코리아와 같은 협업이 매우 중요했다고 봅니다. 파트너 케어 프로그램이 있어서 저희들은 그 서포트를 받아서 몇 가지 그런 이슈들이 있었지만 그런 내용들을 잘 해결할 수 있는 그런 컨택 라인들을 저희들이 가지고 프로젝트를 수행함으로 인해 가지고 정해진 기간 내에 속의 성과를 달성할 수 있게 됐다고 생각합니다. SAP 코리아 분들의 도움을 다시 한번 이 자리에 비해서 감사 말씀드리겠습니다.
네, 감사합니다. 이렇게 좋은 말씀 주신 대웅제약의 CIO인 박영호 실장님, IDS 트러스트의 대표님이신 윤석표 대표님께 감사를 드립니다. 또 이런 인터뷰를 더 들어주신 우리 모든 시청자 여러분들에게도 감사를 드립니다.
Hello, my name is Sohaib. and I'm part of Global Platform and Technologies Pre-Sales. As SAP's in-memory data platform HANA turns 10 this year, over 35,000 customers are benefiting from it in their journey to the intelligent enterprise. This year, HANA is available on cloud. SAP HANA Cloud is SAP's cloud-native data platform that combines the power of data and analytics and gives you a gateway for your enterprise data into one single cloud solution that can be deployed on any hyperscalers. So let us see a quick demo of the solution. So let's get started with our demo scenario. We have a scenario where the need is to get a unified view into the sales data in the organization. We need to combine the sales order booking from business application, which is S/4HANA, with the sales inquiry in hyperscaler database, which is AWS Athena, and incoming channel sales data from an ETL that is stored in HANA Cloud. Firstly, we can log on to the SAP Cloud Platform Cockpit, from where we can provision a HANA instance or scale it up and down. So if you see, this is my HANA instance, which I'll be using for the demo. And I also have a relational data lake with it. If you go and click on this create instance and go on to step 2, in this step, you configure the memory, compute, and storage for your HANA instance. Here is a slider which is provided to help you. You can increase the memory and you can see that compute and storage gets calculated automatically. Next, we go to step 3. Step 3, you have an option to enable a data lake. This you can do at the time of provisioning, or you can even add it later on. A data lake is a columnar store where you can store all your data which can be analyzed by HANA Cloud. So let's enable this. You can increase the compute and the storage based on your requirement, and then go on to step 4. So we are not going to do a create instance now. We will in fact use this system. So if I log into the Database Explorer, I can give you a quick tour of what all things are here. So if you click on adapters, you have the inbuilt adapters which HANA Cloud provides you to connect to foreign data stores. So like here you have one for Athena, one for BigQuery, one for DB2, Hadoop. You can connect to HANA on-premise. You can connect to MS SQL. You can connect to Netezza, Oracle. So you have a lot of adapters that come inbuilt with HANA Cloud. Next, for this demo, we have certain connections which have already been created. So we have a local orders table, which resides in HANA itself. Then we have an AWS Athena table, and we have a VBAC orders details tables from our S4 system. So let's go to the S4 system and see what data is coming in from there. So this is my SAP GUI. I would log on to my S4X system here. Provide the password and log on. So here we say SE16 transaction, and we look at our table, order details table, which is VBAC here. So this is the table that we are going to access from our HANA system. So now let me go and show you the Athena system. So this is the AWS Athena. Here, this is my data source, which is AWS data catalog. I have several databases in here. So for this demo, I'll be using the TPCH database, and I have a customers table in there. So we can run a query here in AWS. So it gives me the results. Let's go back to our database explorer. So now I have a script which will show me how I can combine the data from these three different sources. So one table is in AWS Athena, one table is in S4, and the third table is in SAP HANA Cloud itself. So first of all, I'll set my schema. Let me bring this up. Then we are going to see the local orders table. So yeah, so this is my local orders table. And then let's look at the Athena table. So if you see now, it's accessing AWS and giving me back the same data that we saw in the Athena interface. Now let's access our S4 system. And it goes via the HANA adapter and gives me the data. Now let us combine the sales order with the customers table. So we will create a view. So let's first look at how the data looks like when we combine the local sales table with the AWS Athena table. In AWS Athena, one table, yeah, so it gives us back the results. So what we can do is we can create a local view in Athena itself, which will combine these two data sets for me. And then I can directly query the view itself. Yep, so the view gets created. So similarly, let's create another view from S4 for the aggregated sales value per entry. So let's first run the query itself. Yeah, so this is getting the data from S4 system now. So we will create the view now. Yeah, so the view gets created. Now we are going to join Athena and S4 data and create a view on top. So first let's run the query and see how the data looks like with the customers table. Okay, so it gave me back the results. We are good to go and create the view. Okay, now if I go to the views section, I see that we have created this view into the data fabric, and we can see a data preview of this data in Athena itself. So this is a data federation that is happening between the three data sets now. Now using this views, your business users, they get a combined view of the three different data sets. That's the end of my demo. Thank you. As you have seen in the demo, SAP HANA Cloud helps you to connect all your data in a business application, in a database, in a data mart, or in data lake, which is multi-cloud, into a single unified view of your business data. Secondly, it helps in preserving the business data model of your SAP applications in a petabyte scale cloud platform and empowers your business users with self-service advanced analytics. Thirdly, it gives you flexible provisioning of compute and storage and elastic scale architecture. You can find more information at https://saphanacloudservices.com. Thank you for your time.
안녕하세요. 저는 SAP에서 플랫폼 앤 테크놀로지 본부를 담당하고 있는 이태용 본부장입니다. 오늘 이렇게 장시간 동안에 웹 세미나에 참석해 주신 여러분들에게 감사의 말씀을 드립니다. 사실 금년은 하나가 시장에 출시된 이후로 10주년이 되는 해입니다. 이제 10살이 된 해가 된 것이죠. 처음 하나가 출시됐을 때는 메모리 컴퓨팅이라는 생소한 이름 때문에 시장에 안착하는 것이 쉽지만은 않았습니다. 그런데 이제는 전 세계적으로 32,000여 고객들이 SAP와 함께 하나를 쓰고 계십니다. 특히 작년에는 16개의 하나 교육 코스에 무려 37만 8,711명이 등록하셔서 이제 SAP가 그야말로 IT 시장에서 하나의 도메인으로 안착하게 되었습니다. 이 모든 것에 대해서 관심과 성원을 보내신 모든 고객분들에게 감사를 드립니다. 이제 10살이 됐기 때문에 앞으로 10년 청년이 될 때까지 또 10년의 여정을 시작하려 합니다. 지금까지 관심을 가졌던 또 성원해 주셨던 모든 고객들과 함께 또 새로운 고객들이 더해져서 이런 여정과 함께 할 수 있도록 최선을 다하도록 하겠습니다. 고객에게 즐거운 경험, 가치 있는 경험, 놀라운 경험을 드리기 위해서 우리 SAP P&T 팀은 모든 힘을 다할 것입니다. 다시 한번 감사의 말씀을 드립니다.